Okay, so Nancy, just so you're aware, we are live on YouTube now. And for anyone who is already here watching, hi, thank you for coming. And we will be starting the presentation right at 7 o'clock, so about another 2 minutes. Okay, so we've got some folks watching and we're right at 7 o'clock, so I think we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you to everyone who's here for attending the presentation tonight. My name is Caroline Hughes. I'm a biologist at the Loon Preservation Committee. Just a little bit of background on us before we get started. The Loon Preservation Committee is a nonprofit organization that was formed in 1975 in response to a really dramatic and noticeable decline in New Hampshire's common loon population. And the founding principle was really that if human actions had contributed to that decline, and it seemed very likely at that point that they had, then human actions could also help to reverse it. And so since then, we've been working, doing a combination of population monitoring, management techniques, research, and public education to help restore our state's loon population. So part of that education work is, bringing presentations to the public. And tonight, we're really excited to have Nancy Sheehan with us. Nancy is the program coordinator for Journey North, and she's going to be talking to us about their program to track the return of loons to our lakes in the spring. So Nancy, thank you so much for being here tonight, and please feel free to start your presentation whenever you're ready.
Great, well, thanks so much for that introduction and welcome everyone. I was already introduced, but I'll go ahead and say again, I'm Nancy Sheehan and I go by she, her, hers. I am the program coordinator of Journey North, which is a citizen science program of the University of Wisconsin Arboretum, Madison Arboretum. And I'll just take this moment to also acknowledge that the UW-Madison Arboretum, along with my home here in Madison, Wisconsin, occupies the ancestral Ho-Chunk land known to the Ho-Chunk Nation as Dejop. I acknowledge the circumstances that led to the forced removal of the Ho-Chunk people and honor their legacy of resistance and resilience. So I'm so happy to be here with you all. I'm going to talk, my talk today is about loon migration, tracking loon migration with Journey North. And really this is more of an invitation than a presentation. So hopefully you hear in this presentation something that resonates and you'll join Journey North. So I have a couple talking points, really questions that I hope to answer with this presentation. Is why track wildlife migration? What is Journey North's approach to tracking migration? What features set Journey North apart? So the first question, which is my favorite question to help answer, and I'm sure we all have answers to this question too, is really why track wildlife migration? So for me, it's the journeys of migratory species involve this epic story of survival and resilience in the face of challenges. So Journey North covers these epic stories We have a number of projects and a number of migratory species that we do track, from hummingbirds to monarch butterflies, the American robins, the orioles, the barn swallows, the red-winged blackbirds, and of course, the hero of this presentation today is the common loon. So migratory journeys take place at an epic scale across sweeping landscapes. So the monarch butterfly, for example, has a journey of close to 3,000 miles in fall. They go from their breeding range in the northern part of the US and Canada, all the way down to one small spot in Mexico, a sanctuary in Mexico, and also along the coast of California. And the loons likewise are intrepid travelers. Our loons here in the Midwest have been known to journey for 2,000 miles. I understand that the loons in New Hampshire have a shorter migratory distance. But you know, this is an incredible journey that doesn't just happen once a year, but twice a year. So these stories are really worth highlighting and sharing widely and understanding more about. So of course, these epic journeys, just like all epic stories, have downsides and tragedies. And in the face of many challenges for our migratory species, like this hummingbird, they face natural barriers, and climate change only exacerbates some of those things. And so natural barrier, for example, for the hummingbird are glass-sided buildings. And of course, for loons, the nature of the way that their bodies are structured with those wonderful webbed feet located in the back of their body make them incredible swimmers, but not so great landlubbers. So they face different challenges because they need that open water to take off that 1/4 mile runway. And for the loon, the major challenge can be weather, and they get stranded, as many of you know. And this is a photo from Erica Lemoyne, who's a great partner here in Wisconsin with Loon Watch, of a loon that became stranded on a parking lot, a tarmac that was covered in rain, that was appeared to be a lake. And so they become stranded and then they can't take off. They don't have that open water runway. And then last year, we had a freak spring event that stranded a number of birds in the fields in Wisconsin. And I will say that thanks to many volunteers that came to the rescue of these loons who had become stranded in the field. So the loons, like many other migratory birds, facing incredible challenges during their migration. But like epic stories, they do have frequently happy endings. So it's good to recognize those happy endings. And this is a common loon off the coast of North Carolina. And I was telling Carolyn right before we started this conversation, that is where I'm migrating on Saturday to have a vacation. So I thought I would include this loon off the coast of North Carolina. So again, wildlife migration is a risky business. Extreme weather events, insufficient food available within both their breeding and non-breeding habitat, man-made obstructions and disturbances, and of course, overlaying all this is climate change that is just exacerbating any number of these challenges. So what is Journey North's approach to tracking migration? Well, one, I will highlight the fact that we are a mission-driven organization. We have continental scope. We have been around a long time, and we do focus on observable phenological events. So for Journey North, our two main missions for our organization is to raise awareness by sharing these epic migration stories. And we, with the help of a crowd across North America, contributing data continuously all year long, we hope to contribute to the science of migration. So for Journey North, we do have that continental scale. We have been around since 1993. So I don't know, I can't see anybody in the crowd, but for many of us, it's hard to believe that in 1993, it was really the dawn of the internet. So this was a time when the founder and director of Journey North thought what a power that the internet would bring to tracking migratory species and bringing people together to create awareness of migratory species, the challenges they face and the journeys they take. So since 1993, there has been this continental approach to tracking migration. And this is just a visualization of the 8,000 some reports that have been received within this time period, 1998 to 2020. And it just shows that we have a number of contributors in Canada, Alaska, and across the US. And then a quick word about how we approach tracking migration. It is the observable events in the annual life cycle of migratory species and the resources that they depend on. So it's really the phenology of a particular event rather than a status phenology. So we're just asking about the timing of, for example, first arrivals and the timing of, for example, a blooming of a particular plant. And for loons, what that means is that we are really asking just two questions right now, and it is a spring-focused migration tracking project. We asked what date that in the spring did you first observe a migrating loon? And then what date in the spring did you observe winter ice cover leaving a lake or a pond? And the idea with this is that we're trying to bring together the resource, which for loons, in this case, in terms of migration, is that open water, and then the species itself, which is the arrival of the loon in the spring. And what we're finding increasingly over time with climate change is that what's happening is called a phenological mismatch, where perhaps the lakes are not, they're still iced up when a loon arrives. Or in the case of monarchs that are completely dependent on milkweed, the milkweed may not be emerged in time for the monarch to come and lay their egg. So we're really trying to get at that specific matchup of the species with the resource. So a couple features that sets Journey North apart. I know that it is, again, in 1993, the internet was new, and now we have burgeoning opportunities to submit data. And there are lovely, excellent programs out there, but I'll just tell you a little bit about what Journey North has to offer. So easy registration and reporting system, open access to the data, commitment to meeting fair data principles, and a commitment to telling the migration story. So I'm going to go through each one of these really quickly. So we do have a very simple three-step process for registering. Basically, all you need to do is enter your name, your address, you set a password, you can subscribe, it's optional, subscribe to receive our e-newsletters, hit submit, and your account is set. You're ready to submit your observational reports to Journey North. And to do so, again, we're trying to keep it with low barriers to participation. We're trying to make it as easy as possible. So we have five quick steps to submitting your observational report. You can see here is a screenshot of the data entry portal. You can enter a date, you enter the location, you record the number of species observed. You can upload a photograph. That is optional, but it really is helpful, especially if there are questions of identification. Photos are really helpful. And there is an opportunity to write comments. Comments are great to give really rich context to any one observation. We then hit submit, and there it's done. We, as I mentioned, are really committed to open access to data. We want as many people engaged in understanding the natural world and natural processes as possible. So there are a number of locations on the website to view the data. You view the data from everyone who has submitted, for example, a common Loon first sighting report, or you have the opportunity to just look at your own sightings. And that comes out in a table format, which I have a screenshot here showing you that table format. We're also committed not only to open access to data to anyone, so that's the volunteers, the public, researchers, but we also have found that specifically for researchers and scientists, they need to have a lot of extra information about the data set. They need to know how the data was collected, what the fields are. And we've made a real commitment to creating data packages that are published to a central data repository where that data set can be easily found by scientists interested in any particular topic of interest. So for migratory scientists who are interested in migration, they can go to this one data central repository and find and access and reuse the Journey North data set. So that's our commitment both to the volunteer efforts, to all our volunteers who've taken time to submit our observations to Journey North, and our commitment to creating greater understanding of migration. So again, back to that wonderful story, that migration story. We do write weekly news updates, which tell about the front line of migration for all the species that we track. And what makes, I think, our migration newsletters somewhat unique is that we really rely on the comments of our volunteers. The rich photographs, the wonderful context that people provide us in those comments become the content of our newsletters. So this is just a screenshot here of our recent newsletter, breaking news. And you will see here, I just excerpted a few comments from some reporters who submitted observation for common loons. And New Hampshire is featured this last newsletter. So thank you all who have already submitted to Journey North. I will say that in addition to the newsletters, we also have interactive real-time maps for each one of the project species that we track. So this is just a small GIF here to show you that with these real-time mapping system that we have, you can see migration unfold. You have like a front row seat to that migration. And this is just something from last year. These are the common loon sightings, and you can see the progression for those light orangey colored location dots up into the red dots and then up into Canada. So that's the progression of loons over the course of the spring in 2021. The maps are interactive, so in any one of those location pins, you can click and up pops the report. Again, it shows you the date, the number, and the comment, the town. Again, I tried to pick out New Hampshire sightings in this presentation, the observer, and there is an opportunity for anyone to contact the observer. It's through a protected server, so there's no exchange of personal emails. It goes through a server that includes that information. But I do know that some folks do use that service because they're interested in finding out a little bit more about a particular report. Again, I just pulled a couple of New Hampshire recent sightings. This was the first sighting, I think, of the common loon in New Hampshire. So it was March 21, and it was submitted by Michelle in Raymond, New Hampshire, which I think is by Manchester, but my dot is a little bit off there. It should be over there near Manchester. And of course, those of us who, I'm the only full-time staff member for Journey North. I do work with one part-time communication specialist. And we just love looking at the maps and reading the comments and seeing the beautiful photographs that people do send in to us and submit. And so I as I was looking through our mapping system today, I couldn't resist placing a couple of these New Hampshire sightings into this presentation. So, you know, here is another one from April, the 5th of April, Scott, and you can see it's just a wonderful comment. Ice is still not fully out. This loon was fishing right at the edge, and there was a river otter sitting on the ice nearby munching on a sunfish. So wonderful story in and of itself. Again, it's the voices of our volunteers who are telling this migration story of the loons for us and for the loons. And this is just another example of an ice out from a person on Duncan Lake, and you probably know exactly where that is. But again, somebody who really knows their lake and is watchful and making a commitment to tracking the arrival of common loons. So this is another visualization that shows the distribution of the reports that have been submitted since 1998 to 2020. The biggest bubble, that means the largest proportion, the largest number of reports are coming from volunteers in Wisconsin. And that's a testament really to the partnership I think we've had for a long time with Loon Watch. Minnesota, New Hampshire, again, great partnership with the Loon Preservation Committee through the years. And really what I wanted to show you with this particular visualization is I would love those bubbles to be bigger for some of the states that are very small. So this is just a fun way to say, you know, let's all blow our bubbles up a little bit higher so that we get more sightings of loons in across the continent. So again, with your help, we really hope to raise awareness by sharing these epic migration stories, and we can contribute to the science of migration. And again, an invitation to join Journey North. You can go right to the website, register, and then begin submitting your sightings for loons. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Nancy. And I just wanted to tell you that I've been, you know, looking forward to, you know, every morning when I can get onto Journey North and check the map and see if any new reports have been made. It's a really, really cool interface. And so I think your presentation was enough to convince people to check it out and get involved. But I just want to give my plug. Please do, you know, check out the site, look at the maps. And if you're on or around a lake, or, you know, if you spend time on lakes, please do consider participating in submitting your sightings, because the more data, the better.
Yes.
So we have a lot of comments in the chat about, you know, people reporting loons that they've seen. And so again, please do go to Journey North, register, report those. Nancy, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the importance of firsthand reports versus, you know, reporting something that someone else told you about.
Yes. Oh, great. I'm glad that you asked that question. So the gold standard for citizen science programs is to have first-hand observations. So the person who saw the species in question submits that observational report. So I will say that I have made a couple exceptions to that rule. Especially if, for places where the internet may not be strong. There's some islands in the Great Lakes that do not have internet access. So there's one person who is the point person for any number of people, and that person will submit. But really the gold standard is to have the person who has made the observation submit the observation. And the other piece that I didn't actually bring out in the presentation is that we do try to verify every report that comes in. So sometimes we will contact the observer for a little bit more information or encourage them to submit a photo. So again, it's that person that we contact and who we really rely on to be the expert of that particular observational report.
Yeah, and so at LPC, we receive a lot of reports from our volunteers or, people who contact us on Facebook to let us know that the loons are back on their lake. And we're really excited to get those reports. It's just, nice for us to hear about it so that we can document it and just get excited about the upcoming season. But as Nancy was just saying, we can't or we shouldn't be in the habit of submitting those, the secondhand reports that we get to Journey North. So everyone that's been emailing us or getting in contact with us, we've been asking to go ahead, register, and submit their observations. And so if anyone who has done that in the chat, please do go and submit them.
And you can do it retroactively, right? You just, in the date field, you put the date that you made the observation, even if it was a week ago. But make sure that the date is correct. Yes, and I will say that we also have social media channels. So we post to Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. And especially Facebook, people will start having this wonderful conversation on Facebook and they'll share these incredible photos. But we try to kind of interject a message every once in a while saying, oh, but we can't capture this information if it just goes on to Facebook. It really has to be entered into our database for it to be meaningful.
And if anyone runs into, technical issues as they're trying to submit their reports, what's the best way to reach you guys to get that sorted out?
So we have a contact us field, and so that goes to our helpline, and it takes a while. I do have someone who volunteers about 3 hours a week to look at that helpline, so we try to be really attentive, especially if it's technical difficulties, to get to your question right away.
Awesome. So it looks like we've come to the end of the questions in the chat. If people come up with questions as they're mulling things over afterwards, is that contact us button on the website the best way to reach out to you with just general questions about the program?
Well, you can share my email. It was in the beginning of this presentation and I put it in the chat box, but I think I'll let you be the person in charge of that since I don't have that chat box in front of me. So yes, please feel free to reach out to me. And we'll get your questions answered.
Excellent. Yeah, well, thank you so much, Nancy, for taking the time tonight to talk with us and help get more people involved in this awesome program. I'm really, really excited to keep viewing the status and the progression of loons migrating across the country and across the continent, really, over the next couple of weeks. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, and thank you all for what you do too. I've just been so impressed with reading more about the LPC on the website and all the monitoring you're doing, and it's all great work.
Thank you very much. And thank you to everyone who attended tonight. This presentation was recorded, so we will be, actually we have one more question in the chat. So it says, we have loons that just stop in for a few days during this time before they go to their next lake, and then the ones that live on the lake. How should we count those two sort of separate things?
Great question, great question. So Journey North accepts first sightings no matter where they are. So it does include those stopover ponds and lakes as the loons are migrating to their destination lakes where they're going to end up breeding. So it is those stopover sites. And right now, I'm a little sneak peek at what is happening in the future. We are in the process of revising and creating a mobile-friendly app, a different website or website redesign, and we're changing some of the database structure. And so hopefully there'll be more of a checkbox so that if it is a destination lake, then you'll be able to check that. Or if you know or think it's a stopover lake, you'll be able to check that. We're not there yet. That's the kind of information that you can let us know about in that comment field. Again, that's great on the ground information that we can use.
Awesome. So Betty in the chat says she tried to register this morning and it didn't work out. So Betty, I think that would be an instance where you would want to go back to the website and hit that contact us button and talk to the technical support person with Journey North, right?
Yeah, and if, just because we're talking now, if you have Betty's contact, you can send it to me and then we'll get right on it.
Great. Yeah, Betty's one of our great volunteers, so I can definitely get you that information. Yeah, okay, so it looks like I think now we are officially at the end of our questions. This presentation has been recorded. It will be live on our YouTube channel for at least the next week or two. So if you know someone who lives on the lake that maybe didn't attend and you wanted to share share this with them, you can send them the link to it. And yeah, just please spread the word and help us get more participation in this awesome program.
Yes, great.
Yeah,
it's nice to see you. See everybody.
Yeah.
Not really, but you're out there, I know.
Virtually.
So,
well, have a wonderful night, everyone. Thank you again, Nancy.